The stars looked different from the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. Samuel Wright had spent countless hours here during the past week, watching the alien ships hang in space like gleaming knives. He rubbed his tired eyes and straightened his diplomatic uniform one last time. Today, humanity would learn its fate. "They're ready for us," said Maria Diaz. Her admiral's uniform carried more medals than Samuel could name, yet none of them mattered to the beings waiting aboard the flagship. "What if we fail?" Samuel asked quietly. Maria's face remained stone-like. "Then we adapt. It's what we do best." The shuttle journey was silent. Samuel reviewed his notes while Maria stared at the approaching vessel. The alien ship dwarfed their shuttle, its silvery surface reflecting Earth's blue glow. It belonged to the Axiom, the oldest species in the Galactic Council, and its unchallenged leaders for millennia. 6 other council ships surrounded it, each representing a major galactic power. Humanity, with its mere 3 star systems and handful of colonies, was not considered worthy of such status. The docking procedure finished with a soft bump. Samuel took a deep breath before the airlock opened. Inside waited the council representatives. The Axiom delegate stood tallest, nearly 9 feet of willowy limbs and silver skin. Its 4 eyes tracked their movements without blinking. "Ambassador Wright, Admiral Diaz." The Axiom spoke through its translator. "The council has reached its decision." Samuel nodded respectfully. "We are grateful for your consideration." "Earth hopes to—" "Your hopes are irrelevant," interrupted the Trell delegate, a reptilian being with scales that shifted color with its mood. Currently they glowed deep red. The verdict was unanimous. Samuel felt his stomach sink but maintained his diplomatic smile. "We would appreciate hearing the council's wisdom." The Axiom gestured toward a large circular table. The human representatives took their seats, noticeably lower than the aliens surrounding them. "For 50,000 cycles, the council has maintained peace among civilized species," began the Axiom. "Each new race is carefully evaluated before inclusion. Humanity has failed this evaluation." Maria leaned forward. "With respect, we've only had contact with the council for 3 years. Our colonies are peaceful. We've followed every regulation." "Your compliance is superficial," said the bulbous Vryn delegate, its voice bubbling through liquid-filled speaking sacs. "We have studied your history extensively. Humans are unpredictable, fractious, and dangerous. All species have violent pasts," Samuel countered. "Yet most outgrow them," replied the Axiom. "Your kind simultaneously creates medicine to save lives and weapons to end them. You write poetry about peace while preparing for war. Your potential is considerable, but your wisdom is lacking." The council members exchanged glances before the Axiom continued. "The council's decision is this. Humanity must abandon all extrasolar colonies immediately. You will remain quarantined within your home system for 500 years, until you have matured sufficiently. Any human vessel attempting to leave your solar system after the grace period will be destroyed." The room fell silent. Samuel felt numb. "And if we refuse?" Maria asked, her voice dangerously calm. The Axiom's silver face remained expressionless. "Then we will have no choice but to eliminate the human threat entirely. You have 60 Earth days to comply." The return journey felt much longer than the trip out. Neither Samuel nor Maria spoke until they were safely back on the orbital station. "We need to call an emergency meeting," Samuel said finally. "They're already waiting." Maria replied. The station's conference room was packed with Earth's highest officials. President Elaine Foster stood as they entered. "Well?" she asked. Samuel shared the council's verdict while Maria displayed the official terms on the main screen. The room erupted in angry voices. "Silence." Elaine's voice cut through the chaos. "Arguing won't help. We need options." "We have 3 star systems with viable colonies," said General Ben Collins. "About 15,000 people off Earth. We could bring them home, comply with the quarantine." "And be prisoners in our own system for 5 centuries?" asked Defense Secretary Laura Wilson. "That's not an option." "We could fight," someone suggested. Maria shook her head. Their technology outclasses ours by centuries. It would be suicide. The room fell quiet again until Samuel spoke up. What about a third option? Neither surrender nor direct confrontation. All eyes turned to him as he continued. The Council monitors the major travel routes and known systems, but the galaxy is vast. There are unexplored regions beyond their influence. You're suggesting we run? Asked Collins with disgust. I'm suggesting we survive, Samuel replied firmly. We scatter. Send colony ships to the Perseus Arm beyond Council space, small groups traveling separately, seeking habitable worlds beyond their monitoring network. A diaspora, Elaine said thoughtfully. But we'd need time to prepare such an operation. The Council's watching us now more than ever. Maria straightened in her chair. Then we give them something else to watch. Earth makes a show of compliance while secretly preparing the colony ships. When they're ready, my fleet engages the Council, vessels not to win, but to create a distraction. The implications hung heavy in the room. Everyone understood what Maria was proposing. A sacrifice. Over the next 40 days, humanity worked with silent desperation. Publicly, the colonies began dismantling operations. Ships returned to Earth carrying people and essential equipment. The Council observers logged each arrival with satisfaction. Meanwhile, in hidden shipyards on the dark side of the moon and within the clouds of Jupiter, engineers worked around the clock. Colony ships were prepared, larger and more advanced than anything humans had built before, each designed to carry thousands of people and the supplies they would need to establish life far from Earth. Jack Monroe was running on caffeine and determination. As chief engineer for the Diaspora project, he hadn't slept properly in weeks. You need rest, said his wife Olivia, setting down a fresh cup of coffee beside his workstation. Jack smiled tiredly. No time. I think I found a way to improve the FTL drives. If I'm right, the ships could go 30% farther before needing to drop back to normal space. Olivia squeezed his shoulder. That could make all the difference. She hesitated, before adding, I found something in the Council communications I've been studying. Not all Council species agree with our banishment. The Novan delegate apparently argued against it. Fat lot of good that did us, Jack muttered. Maybe not now, Olivia said, but it means we might find allies someday. On the 59th day, President Foster addressed the world. Without revealing the true plan, she spoke of resilience and patience. She promised that humanity would emerge stronger from its isolation. That night, beneath the cover of a global communications blackout officially attributed to compliance procedures, 12 massive colony ships slipped away from their hiding places. Each took a different trajectory away from Earth, accelerating toward the edges of the solar system. As dawn broke on the 60th day, Admiral Diaz's fleet moved into position between Earth and the Council vessels. Their mission was simple but grim. Buy time at any cost. The age of humanity on Earth was ending, but among the distant stars it was just beginning. 10 years passed like a dream for the people aboard the colony ship Perseverance. Most spent the journey in cryosleep, aging only months while a decade slipped by. Captain Danielle Russell was among the few who remained awake in rotating shifts, watching over the sleeping travelers. The ship's alert woke her from a light sleep. She hurried to the bridge, still pulling on her uniform jacket. Status report, she ordered, sliding into the captain's chair. We've reached the target system, replied her pilot, Greg Harris. His fingers danced across the control panel. Dropping out of FTL in 3 minutes, Danielle nodded and turned to her science officer. What do we know about this place? Linda Palmer gestured to the main screen. Star is a K-type, slightly smaller than Sool but stable. Long-range scans show 4 planets and several moons. Third planet appears habitable but has extreme seasonal shifts. The second moon of the fourth planet shows better promise. Steady, climate, breathable atmosphere with minor filtration needed. A moon, Danielle mused. Not what we planned for, but it could work. The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped into normal space. The view screen filled with the orange glow of a foreign sun home, perhaps, if they were lucky. No signs of Council technology or monitoring stations, reported the security chief, Paul Castro. We appear to be alone. For now, Danielle said. Begin orbital scans of the target moon and prepare the landing party. It's time to see if we've found New Haven. 3 days later, Danielle stood on alien soil, breathing air that smelled of cinnamon and pine. The landing party had confirmed the moon was habitable, rich soil, clean water, and no large predators detected. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth's, but within adaptable ranges. It's perfect, said Eric Patterson, the expedition's survival specialist. He knelt to examine the soil more closely. These plants are similar to Earth flora at a molecular level. They should be compatible with our crops. Danielle watched as more shuttles descended from the Perseverance, bringing the first wave of colonists and prefab shelters. 10,000 people would soon call this place home. Set up the long-range scanner array, she ordered. If there are other colony ships out there, we need to find them. Unknown to the crew of the Perseverance, 30 other colony ships had also survived the journey. Scattered across the Perseus arm, humanity was taking root in places the Council had never bothered to claim. Eric's team spent weeks exploring the terrain around the landing site. The moon, which they continued to call New Haven, was smaller than Earth, but rich with life. Strange six-legged herbivores grazed on blue-green grass. Bird-like creatures with translucent wings filled the skies. You need to see this, Eric called over the radio one morning. His voice crackled with excitement. Danielle and Paul hiked 3 miles to Eric's position. They found him standing before what looked like a doorway carved into a hillside. It was hidden under vines, Eric explained. I almost missed it. Paul scanned the entrance with his equipment. No power signatures, no radiation. Appears dormant. But definitely artificial, Danielle said, running her hand along the smooth surface. The material felt like stone but had a faint metallic sheen. Someone was here before us. Inside, they found a single chamber with walls covered in symbols unlike any human language. Strange devices sat on pedestals, their purpose unknown. The technology looked far more advanced than anything the Council races possessed. We need to bring in Nicole, Paul said, referring to their xenoarchaeology expert. Nicole Bennett arrived. The next day, she spent hours examining the symbols and artifacts. This isn't Council tech, she announced finally. It's older, much older. If I had to guess, I'd say it predates the Axiom themselves. Before they could learn more, an alert sounded from the colony. Paul's security team had detected an unidentified ship entering the system. Council scout, Paul confirmed after checking the readings. The small vessel was performing standard survey patterns, apparently unaware of the human presence on the moon. They'll detect us soon, Danielle said. Options? We could hide, Eric suggested. Power down the colony, move everyone. Underground until they leave. Paul shook his head. Too risky. If they're thorough, they'll find us anyway. He hesitated before adding, we could capture it. Small crew, probably just 3 or 4. The plan came together quickly. Using the colony's single-armed shuttle, Paul's team approached the scout ship from behind the planet, masked by sensor interference. The boarding was quick and bloodless. The Council crew surrendered rather than fight. The prisoners were 3 Novans, one of the junior Council races. Their captain, a female named Selith, spoke passable English. You should not be here, she told Danielle during interrogation. This sector is beyond Council borders but will be claimed within decades. We go where we must to survive, Danielle replied. Selith's head frills fluttered in what Nicole identified as confusion. Survive? Earth was not destroyed. The humans exchanged glances. What do you mean? Danielle asked carefully. The Axiom never intended destruction, Selith explained. Earth is intact, but isolated. A containment shield surrounds your system. No signals in or out. The Axiom call it compassionate quarantine. The news spread through the colony that night. Earth still existed. Their families, friends, all alive but unreachable behind an alien barrier. Meanwhile, on a planet called Frontier's Edge, 2 100 light-years from New Haven, scientist Alan Carter made a breakthrough. While studying similar ancient ruins found on his colony world, he discovered that the artifacts emitted a quantum resonance that existed outside normal spacetime. With careful calibration, Alan found he could use this resonance to send messages instantly across vast distances. The signal couldn't be detected by conventional council technology. When the first message reached New Haven, Nicole Bennett was monitoring the artifacts in the chamber. The symbols on the wall suddenly glowed, and a voice emerged from one of the devices. "Hello? Can anyone hear this? This is Alan Carter of Frontier's Edge Colony." Nicole's hands trembled as she replied, "This is Nicole Bennett, New Haven Colony. We hear you." More connections followed. Over the next several months, the growing network linked 7 human colonies. They shared discoveries, resources, and hope. At the same time, the colonies were changing. On the harsh world of Ragnar, where radiation levels forced colonists to live mostly underground, Governor Kelly Martinez approved controversial genetic modifications to help future generations adapt. "We can't remain purely human and survive here long term," she argued during a network meeting. Her decision created the first ideological divide among the scattered settlements. Some colonies embraced adaptation, while others insisted on maintaining human purity. Despite these differences, one truth united them all. Humanity would not merely survive in exile, it would thrive and grow stronger. And someday, they would return to the stars not as refugees but as a power the Council could no longer ignore. 50 years after humanity's exile, the scattered colonies had grown strong. What began as desperate outposts clinging to survival had become thriving settlements with their own cultures and advancements. 37 human worlds now formed. The Perseus Concordat, connected by quantum communications and special ships that could travel faster than anything the Council had. On the research colony called Hawking's Point, Chief Scientist Gregory Ward stared at his computer screen with wide eyes. For 20 years he had studied the ancient artifacts found on multiple colony worlds. Today he finally understood what they were. "It can't be," he whispered to himself. But the data was clear. The artifacts weren't just random technology left behind by some vanished race. They were parts of a vast library, created by beings who called themselves the Architects. Gregory's fingers flew across the keyboard as he linked more pieces of the puzzle. The Architects had ruled the galaxy millions of years before the Axiom. They had reached technological heights that seemed like magic. And then, they had simply disappeared. Dr. Ward? His assistant, Kara Jones, entered the lab. "The Council is asking for your weekly report." The Perseus Concordat had a governing council now, with representatives from each colony. Unlike the Galactic Council that had banished them, the Human Council made decisions together with no single colony having more power than others. "Tell them to meet in 1 hour," Gregory said without looking up. "They'll want to hear this immediately." The Sega council chamber was packed when Gregory arrived. He connected his computer to the main screen and faced the room. "For years we've wondered why these alien ruins contained such advanced technology," he began. "Today I can tell you who built them. They called themselves the Architects, and they ruled this galaxy long before the Axiom." He showed images of the artifacts and the patterns his team had discovered. The Architects' technology operates on principles the Council races never discovered. They manipulated quantum fields in ways we're just beginning to understand. But here's the most important part. The Axiom know about the Architects, and they've been hiding this knowledge from the other Council races. The room erupted in questions. Gregory raised his hand for silence. "Based on what we've decoded, the Axiom found Architect ruins thousands of years ago. Instead of sharing this knowledge, they kept it for themselves. They've been suppressing technological advancement among the Council races, keeping them dependent while claiming to protect them." Miles away from Hawking's Point, on the military station Vigilant, Commander Heather Johnson was putting the Architect technology to practical use. Her team had integrated the quantum field manipulators into new ship designs, creating vessels that could outmaneuver and outfight anything the Council had. "One more test," she told her pilots, The training room was filled with simulation pods where pilots practiced with the new systems. The test results made her smile. These ships could change everything. For the first time, humanity had military technology superior to the Council races. She was preparing her report when the alert came in. Pirates had attacked New Anchorage, one of the outer colonies. This wasn't unusual. Space pirates from non-Council races often targeted isolated settlements. But this attack was larger than normal. "Prepare the defense fleet," Heather ordered. "We'll show these pirates what the new ships can do." Commander Frank Phillips led the response fleet to New Anchorage. The colony was small, with just 15,000 people, but it was strategically important due to its rich mineral deposits. The pirate ships were still in orbit when Frank's fleet arrived. There were 12 of them, old vessels modified with stolen weapons. "Open a channel," Frank ordered. "Attention pirate vessels. This is Commander Phillips of the Perseus Concordat. Leave immediately or be destroyed." The pirates responded by firing on Frank's ships. Their energy weapons flashed across space and missed completely as the human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of reality, thanks to their quantum field generators. "Target their engines," Frank ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. The human ships moved with impossible speed, their weapons slicing through the pirates' shields as if they weren't there. Not a single human vessel was damaged. Word of the battle spread quickly through the quantum network. For the first time, humanity had openly displayed technology beyond what the Council races possessed. There would be no going back. On a distant world called Harmony, diplomat Sophia Miller met with representatives of the Vex, an insectoid species that existed outside Council space. The Vex had observed humanity's colonies with interest for years. "Your victory at New Anchorage has changed how the fringe worlds see you," said Katak, the Vex ambassador. His mandibles clicked softly as he spoke through a translator. "Many species chafe under Council influence. They see your people as potential allies." Sophia leaned forward. "We're not looking for war with the Council." "Perhaps not yet," Katak replied. "But you should know the truth about the axiom. They have ruled through manipulation for thousands of years. They keep other species weak and dependent while claiming to protect them." "We've suspected as much," Sophia admitted. "Our scientists have discovered evidence in the architect ruins." Katak's compound eyes gleamed. "Then you know more than most. The axiom fear species that develop too quickly. That is why they banished humans. Over the next months, Sophia established diplomatic relations with 6 non-Council species. These fringe worlds had long resented Council dominance, but lacked the strength to challenge it. They saw the rising human power as a chance for change. The Perseus Concordat grew stronger with each passing day. New colonies were established. The quantum network expanded. Ships traveled farther and faster into unexplored space. On New Haven, now the capital of the Concordat, Governor Patricia Lewis looked out over the city that had grown from the original landing site. Towers of glass and steel rose above parks filled with both earth plants and native species. Children born on this world had never seen Earth, but they still called themselves human. Even those from Ragnar and other worlds where genetic modifications had become common. "Madam Governor," her assistant interrupted her thoughts. "The Council is assembling for an emergency session. Our long-range scouts have detected axiom ships near the borders of our space." Patricia nodded grimly. "It seems they've finally noticed us. 50 years of hiding and building in the shadows was ending. The axiom were coming to investigate the strange signals and reports from the Perseus arm. Humanity would soon face the power that had banished them. But this time, they would not be helpless. This time, they had the knowledge of the architects, the support of the fringe worlds, and a determination forged through 50 years of exile. This time, they would be ready. 100 years had passed since humanity fled Earth. The Perseus Concordat had evolved into the Terran Commonwealth, a powerful alliance of over 100 human worlds and a dozen alien species. Their ships traveled faster than any in the galaxy. Their cities blended human ingenuity with architect technology. But peace was about to end. Vincent Taylor stood before the massive holographic display in his office on New Haven. As intelligence director for the Commonwealth, he had spent decades gathering information about the Galactic Council and especially the Axiom. What his agents had recently discovered disturbed him deeply. "Show me the evidence again," he told his assistant. The display changed to show thousands of star systems highlighted in red. "These are the worlds where we've confirmed Axiom resource collection operations," his assistant explained. "They're extracting energy and materials on a massive scale." "For what purpose?" Vincent asked, though he already suspected the answer. "Our deep cover agent on the Council Capital world sent these." The display changed to show enormous structures being built in distant star systems. "They're called nexus points. We don't know what they do, but they require incredible amounts of energy." Vincent studied the images carefully. "And the other council races?" "Mostly unaware. The Axiom tell them these are defensive installations or research stations. Few question them." Vincent dismissed his assistant and sat heavily in his chair. The Axiom were harvesting resources from thousands of worlds while keeping other species technologically dependent. They were building something massive in secret, and now, their ships were probing the borders of Commonwealth space. Across the galaxy, Captain Lisa Rodriguez of the Commonwealth ship Defiance patrolled the outer sectors. Her ship was one of the newest models, incorporating the most advanced architect technology. The Defiance could outrun or outfight anything in known space. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," reported her communications officer. "It's not Commonwealth or any known fringe world pattern." Lisa frowned. "Source?" "A ship, heavily damaged. The signal is using Council protocols." This was unexpected. Council ships rarely ventured this far from their territory. "Approach with caution. Shields at maximum." The damaged vessel was small, barely larger than a shuttle. Its hull was scorched by weapon fire and it was leaking atmosphere. "Life signs?" Lisa asked. "5 survivors. Species reads as Novan." The Novans were one of the younger council races known for their scientific curiosity. They looked almost human, except for their blue skin and large, dark eyes. "Bring them aboard," Lisa ordered. "Medical team to the shuttle bay." The Novan captain was named Teller. His uniform was torn, and a bandage covered one side of his face. He looked at Lisa with a mixture of fear and hope. "You're human," he said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into English. "We didn't think we'd find you this far out." "What happened to your ship?" Lisa asked. Teller's expression darkened. "The Axiom happened. They attacked our research station without warning. My science vessel was the only one that escaped." Lisa exchanged glances with her first officer. "The Axiom attacked their own allies? Why?" "Because we discovered something we weren't supposed to know," Teller explained. "My team developed a new form of energy manipulation. When we announced our findings to the Council Science Directory, the Axiom representatives seemed interested. They asked for a demonstration at our home research facility." His voice shook as he continued. 2 days later, there was a containment accident at our main laboratory on our homeworld. The explosion destroyed half a continent. Millions dead. But it wasn't an accident. We found Axiom energy signatures in the wreckage." Lisa's mind raced. "What was so dangerous about your discovery?" "Nothing," Teller said bitterly. "Except that it made us less dependent on Axiom technology. We had begun to question their authority. That's all it takes." Word of the Novan rescue spread quickly through Commonwealth leadership. The evidence from Teller's ship confirmed what Vincent Taylor had suspected. The Axiom were willing to destroy anyone who threatened their control. On New Haven, the Commonwealth Council gathered to discuss this new information. Representatives from over 100 worlds filled the grand chamber. Some attended in person, others as holograms from distant planets. "We face a critical decision," said Chancellor William Cooper, who led the council. "Do we continue building strength in secret, or do we openly challenge Axiom manipulation?" The debate was heated. Some argued for caution, pointing out that despite their advancements, the Commonwealth was still outnumbered by council forces. Others pushed for immediate action to protect both themselves and other oppressed species. The Axiom attacked the Novans for developing technology similar to what we already possess, said the representative from Ragnar, whose people had modified themselves to survive their harsh world. They will eventually come for us too. The debate continued for days without resolution. Then news arrived that changed everything. Admiral Ryan Cooper's fleet had discovered an Axiom harvesting operation in a neighboring sector. The Axiom ships were stripping resources from planets inhabited by the Trill, one of the Commonwealth's alien allies. "We can't allow this to continue," Ryan told the Council via hologram. "The Trill asked for our protection when they joined the Commonwealth. If we abandon them now, what message does that send to our other allies?" Chancellor Cooper looked around the chamber. "We need to vote. Do we intervene?" The vote was close, but the decision was made. The Commonwealth would defend its allies even if it meant open conflict with the Axiom. Admiral Cooper's fleet moved into position around the Trill homeworld. They didn't have to wait long. A dozen Axiom ships appeared, their silver hulls gleaming against the blackness of space. "They're hailing us," reported Ryan's communications officer. The Axiom commander's face appeared on screen. Its silver skin and 4 eyes were just as humans remembered from a century before. "Human vessels," it said coldly. "You are interfering. In council business, leave immediately." Ryan stood tall. "This is Commonwealth territory now. The Trill are under our protection. It is you who must leave." The Axiom ships opened fire without further warning. Energy beams lanced across space toward the human fleet. But this wasn't the same humanity the Axiom had banished a century ago. The Commonwealth ships activated their quantum field generators. The Axiom weapons passed through empty space as the human vessels seemed to flicker in and out of reality. "Target their propulsion systems," ordered Ryan. "Disable their ships. No casualties if possible." The battle was short and decisive. The human ships moved with impossible speed, their weapons cutting through Axiom shields with ease. Within minutes, every Axiom vessel was disabled, floating helplessly in space. Not a single Commonwealth ship had been damaged. Not one human life had been lost. News of the victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Commonwealth allies celebrated. Suppressed species watched with hope. And on the Council capital world, for the first time in millennia, the Axiom felt fear. The shadow. War had just become very real. 200 years after exile, humanity stood at the center of a new galactic order. The Galactic Council had crumbled as species after species broke away from Axiom control. In its place stood the Interstellar Alliance, a federation of equals, with the Terran Commonwealth as its foundation. What began as scattered colonies hiding in the dark had become a civilization spanning nearly a third of the galaxy. The former Council capital world of Centrum now hosted representatives from over 60 species. In the Grand Alliance Hall, humans worked alongside aliens who had once been enemies and others who had been oppressed by the Axiom for millennia. Andrew Mitchell straightened his formal diplomat's uniform as he prepared to enter the chamber. As chief diplomat for humanity, he would sign the Galactic Concordat today, a treaty that officially ended hostilities with the remaining Council worlds and established new rules for peaceful cooperation. "Nervous?" asked Selith, the Novan ambassador who had become Andrew's close friend and ally. Her people had suffered greatly under Axiom rule but were now valued Alliance members. "A little," Andrew admitted. 200 years ago we were running for our lives. Now we are helping write the rules for a new galactic civilization. Selith's face frills fluttered in amusement. "Your people adapt quickly. That's why the Axiom feared you." The Axiom had not been destroyed. After their defeat at the Trill homeworld, more battles followed. For 20 years, the conflict raged across dozens of star systems. But as more species joined the Commonwealth side, the Axiom found themselves increasingly isolated. Eventually, they retreated to their core systems, still powerful but no longer dominating galactic affairs. The signing ceremony began with representatives from each world taking their turn at the central podium. When Andrew stepped forward to sign for Earth and all human colonies, He felt the weight of history on his shoulders. With this agreement, he said to the assembled delegates, we put aside old grievances and look toward a future of cooperation. Humanity was once banished for being too unpredictable, too dangerous. Today we pledge our strength not to dominate, but to protect the rights of all species to determine their own path. Later that evening, Andrew received an unexpected message. The Axiom, who had sent only a junior representative to the signing, were requesting a private meeting with human delegates. The meeting took place in a small neutral room within the Alliance complex. 3 Axiom representatives waited there, their silver skin reflecting the soft lighting. The leader was older than any Axiom Andrew had seen before, its skin creased with countless fine lines. We thank you for agreeing to this meeting, the elder Axiom said formally. There are truths that should be shared between our peoples. Andrew nodded cautiously. We're listening. You wonder why we feared humanity enough to banish you, the elder continued. Why we suppressed other species, technology for millennia. The answer lies with the architects. The elder gestured, and a hologram appeared above the table, a spiral galaxy with certain regions highlighted. The architects were not merely an advanced civilization. They were the most powerful species this galaxy has ever known. They manipulated matter and energy at will. They created or destroyed stars as they pleased. And then, in their arrogance, they reached too far. The hologram changed, showing what appeared to be a massive explosion engulfing multiple star systems. The architects discovered how to access the underlying structure of reality, what you might call the source code of the universe. Their experiments tore holes in space-time. Entire regions of the galaxy were destroyed before they could contain the damage. Andrew leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. And you believed we would make the same mistake? We observed your species' rapid advancement, replied the elder. In just a few centuries, you progressed from simple tools to space travel. Your people embraced change and risk in ways that terrified us. We saw in you the same reckless brilliance that destroyed the architects. Back on New Haven, Dr. Julia Palmer was making a breakthrough that confirmed the Axiom's fears were partially justified. As the leading expert on architect technology, she had spent decades studying their devices and records. The math checks out, she told her team, looking at the complex equations filling multiple screens. The architects did destroy themselves by tampering with cosmic laws. Her assistant pointed to a different set of calculations. But our approach is fundamentally different. See here and here? We've incorporated safeguards they never considered. Julia nodded. That's the human element. We've learned from their mistakes. The greatest project in human history was already underway. For decades, engineers and scientists had been working on the Restoration Initiative, a massive undertaking, aimed at disabling the quarantine shield around Earth and reclaiming humanity's birthplace. Admiral Peter Davis stood on the bridge of the flagship Freedom, leading the largest fleet ever assembled by the Commonwealth. 200 ships filled with the most advanced technology humanity had developed during 2 centuries of exile. All ships report ready, Admiral, his first officer announced. Peter nodded. Begin jump sequence. Next stop, Sol system. The journey to Earth would take several weeks even with their advanced drives. As they traveled, Peter reviewed all the information they had about the quarantine shield. Commonwealth scientists believed they could disable it using modified architect technology. What they would find on the other side was unknown. Admiral, we're picking up unusual readings, reported his sensor officer as they approached the edge of the Sol system. There's activity within the shield. Peter frowned. What kind of activity? Energy signatures. Ships moving. Sir, there's a civilization in there. Earth hasn't been dormant. The realization struck everyone on the bridge. For 200 years they had assumed Earth was trapped in isolation, its people living under primitive conditions within the confines of the quarantine shield. But the readings suggested something very different. Open a channel, Peter ordered. All frequencies, let's see if they can hear us. For several tense minutes there was no response. Then a voice came through the speakers, speaking perfect English but with an odd accent. Unidentified fleet, this is Solar Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves immediately. Peter took a deep breath. This is Admiral Peter Davis of the Terran Commonwealth. We are humans from the colonies. We've come home. There was a long pause before the voice responded, this time with obvious emotion. Commonwealth vessels, this is Commander Alex Morgan of Earth Combined Forces. If you truly are who you claim to be, then welcome back. The children of Earth have been waiting a long time for our cousins among the stars to return. As the quarantine shield powered down, revealing the Sol system to outside eyes for the first time in 2 centuries, humanity faced its most unexpected reunion. The descendants of those who remained on Earth had not simply survived. They had created their own unique civilization, developing along different lines than their exiled cousins. 2 branches of humanity, separated by forces beyond their control, were about to reunite. Together they would forge a future greater than either could have achieved alone, a true interstellar civilization built on the best qualities of the human spirit: adaptability, creativity, and an unquenchable desire to explore and understand the universe. The exile that was meant to contain humanity had instead unleashed its greatest potential. The empire they built was not one of conquest, but of cooperation and discovery, exactly what the galaxy had needed all along.